Hey guys, my name is Van, and I'll be starting off our presentation today with Nextile, textile waste reinvented. So first, I'll give you an overview of our business, specifically the what, how, and who. At the moment, our core activity is selling recycled threads extract from textile waste. For now, our target customer are manufacturers and fashion brands or designers that align their values with ours. We also cater to those wanting to expand their catalog or experimenting with new things. In the future, with more reputation and being a more established company, we want to reach out to government agencies, domestic or global, and large fashion brands to truly eradicate textile waste from landfills. Kamana will give you more insights on this problem.
Hello everyone, my name is Kamana and I'm going to present the stats behind the problem we are trying to solve, the massive textile waste. By the EPA in 2018 alone, 17 million tons of textile waste were generated, but only 14.7 were recycled, 19% were combusted, and 70% ended up in the landfills. In this way, we'll have landfills that we can do bonfires with maybe one day. It will not take a long time till reality. Okay, let's go with the underlying problem with it. The methane generated by the landfills decomposes, which is known as 25% more harmful than CO2, trapping into radiation, which release a huge amount of toxic air and is a huge problem for global warming. While the synthetic materials turn to microplastic microfiber that release to groundwater surrounding soil and ocean, which is also a big problem of global warming. Also, if you don't believe in global warming, the Texas freeze. So maybe now we know. Determined to be a part of the problem, our team has researched and are developing a technology to solve this problem. Passing up to Akrem, who will go over our value proposition.
Thank you, Kamana. So we envision a world free of textile waste. We don't believe that clothes should stay in the graveyard that is a landfill. We believe it should be more like the Lion King. Clothes should have a circle of life. So how we plan to do that is by maximizing the amount of recycled material, specifically textile, and by selling these back to clothing producers. Our current value at the outset is going to be that we will be a much more efficient means of recycling that textile material by using technology to self-filter out which clothes go into which machines and make it a little bit more efficient. And where we plan to take that in the future in terms of potential value is we plan to sell these clothes onto companies and hopefully in the future sell on our brand as well. So that way companies can show that they have a sustainable brand for their consumers as well. With that said, I'm going to pass it on to Van for the textile recycling landscape.
Thank you, Akrem. Certainly, we're not the only one trying to solve this problem of textile waste. In the current landscape of the industry we're in, after a piece of clothing is thrown away, it gets sent to a recycling facility that packs it up with other textile waste, as you can see in this picture. And then companies like ours will buy them, process them into threads, or even further to fabrics and sell it back to fashion companies. Nonetheless, there are many loopholes in this process, like not all thrown away clothing ends up in recycling facilities, and not all waste, even after bought by processors, are processed. However, we found a solution that Precious will let you know more about.
Thank you very much. Well, we were able to come up with a machine that can be able to filter textile waste into polyester and silk fibers at the same time. What this machine does is that textile waste is being put into a pulling machine whereby it's then processed into polyesters and silk fibers. It's then moved over to another machine that helps in processing both synthetic and natural fibers into shreds. What the right part of the machine does is that it heats up the polyester and then melts it up into fibers. It's then taken into a tweezer in which it helps to draw out all the melted fibers into threads. On the left part of the machine, as you can see, is where the silk fiber is being taken into. What it does is that all the silk fibers roll over into tiny strings of threads, and then we take the threads and ship them to a third party. Kamana, we talk about our competitors.
So definitely you have heard of this term, right? You are not in the trend, you are not the first choice. So time consumption is the main thing of the business. As our competitors and us, what makes us different? As we have an automatic separation, we don't have to associate with the manual sorting and the rigorous process. Second, the company has the technology that can handle both natural and synthetic fibers. So we will never have byproducts, and the byproducts also take 1.5 million waste, even though it is recycled. Third, if we manage to successfully introduce this technology, we will be a new landscape for the textile, introducing Nextile, which will be the key to unlock the post-value customer, as we have a efficient fiber sorting technology. Passing on to Ankita, we will tell you about our market needs.
Hi, I'm going to go over target market. Recent study shows that 21% of people are saying that they will support brands that are eco-friendly. So our target customers are textile manufacturer and fashion designer that aligns their value with ours in terms of sustainability. We provide the sector of manufacturer and fashion designer that they are open to experiment and expand their product offering. So our established fashion design is one of them is ASOS brand, one of the largest online fashion retailer. So last year they did a survey, and 65% of their customer claiming to be happy to pay more for the product that are good for environment, and they're not happy with their service. So ASOS needs to improve in all area. So due to the reason, they have lost like a lot of customer. Therefore, we can help them recover the value on the customer they lost because of unethical clothing brand. And one of the rising fashion designer that we're looking into, her name is Sandra Sandor. We want to help expand their environment friendly company by providing our service, since she's very interested in working with business like ours as their business searching and experimenting with new eco-friendly fabric. Passing on to Van to talk about financials.
Thank you, Anita. With that being said, here's the money aspect of Nextile. For every ton of thread that we process, we estimate the monthly cost based on 4 of the key resources of our business, with infrastructure making up the largest portion. You can look at the diagram of our cost structure for more details. Also, we decided to price our thread at $2,500 per ton based on a competitive market price. And lastly, we determined to allocate most of our profits to donation for sustainable causes and research and development to get closer to our ultimate goal of creating a circular economic model. Well, thank you for your time, and we're now open for question and answers. You guys have any questions for us?
Oh, yes, I do. First of all, great presentation. It's also honestly really impressive to see that this is what you guys came up with in the 4 days. I know that it was probably very stressful trying to find a problem, but I did have a question in terms of how your team came up with this idea and how you were able to land on the solution. So basically the story behind it.
Thank you. I will take this question actually. So most of our team members, we love, I don't know if you guys know Hassan Minaj. He is the host of the Patriots show on Netflix. And one of the episodes, he shows like, and I quote him, he was showing like the bad side, the sad side of fashion industry, of just like how much waste go to landfill, even old and new clothes. And then we're all like heartbroken, like how is there not a way to solve that problem? Why are all those waste just on landfills and creating such a hazardous environment for people living there? Like children were hanging out at those like mountains of clothes instead of like going to school or like going to like clean playground to hang out with their friends. And so we're like dug deep into the problem and then see that one of the reasons why that we come up with a solution is just making it easier to recycle, to increase the incentive to recycle. And then that's how we can increase the amount of textile waste that actually be recycled instead of going to landfills. Because at the end of the day, as of right now, it's still cheaper to just put on landfills instead of recycle them. And that's why that's such a big problem. I hope that answered your question. Thank you.
Oh, yes, it did. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't know I was on mute.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
You guys, great job. I'll echo Maj that this was really impressive for 4 days, what you guys came up with. And it's definitely a very unique problem. You guys definitely emphasized it in the presentation. I want to comment that I think Kamana, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it,
Yes.
but definitely great energy. And I really felt that you were like super passionate about all the waste, and you know, cracking humor in a presentation is always good to make you make yourselves feel more personable and you know, obviously more likable like that. So great job, great energy by everybody, great presentation skills. Going back to just something that I, you know, was thinking was, you know, right now there's a big increase in people being able to create their own clothing brands, and you know, a lot of people are starting to do that, and the quality of materials that you can source is not always there. So I think this is a great idea that you could add to kind of connect with, you know, t-shirt manufacturing companies or whatever, to be able to offer a different solution to their customers. So overall, great idea. I do have a question. Can you guys go back to the pricing slide? How did you guys come up with pricing? And can you run again? So for the cost, it costs you guys more than you're pricing the product?
So I would answer this question too, because it was my slide. When I came up with the price, because it's based off a market price. Like I research the market and see what are they selling yarns of recycled threads for, and it's like $2.50 per kilogram, and I convert it to ton. So then it's like $2,500 for a ton. The reason why monthly cost is higher is because I combine both fixed cost and variable cost. And then the fixed cost, I have yet to like divide them down to by unit per ton. But I do want to mention something. You notice that since you mentioned that the cost is higher than our revenue, the minimum that other players in the market are charging a required customer to buy is 2,000 kilograms, which is 2 tons for minimum. So our actual revenue for a month, if we're just selling the minimum amount, is actually $5,000. So then that brings us to a contribution margin or unit margin per unit of $1,828.38. So we're actually making a profit instead of having a loss, as you can see there. I'm just showing it per ton basis. Hope that answered your question. Thank you.
It does. Thank you.
Great presentation. It's a unique problem, like everyone said, and you guys have really put in a lot in 4 days. I don't know how you guys were able to do it, but this is great. I have a quick question though. My question is, how do you intend to collect the waste? I mean, like, I don't know if I missed it in the slide, but how do you intend to collect the textile waste?
Okay, I can go about that. Okay, so the problem with textile is like, okay, right now, like Van said, we do have a loophole that most of the things does not end up in the landfills, but the landfills, when the clothing waste is distributed in 4 ways. The first and the second can be recycled again, and the third and the fourth cannot be recycled again. But the first and the second does goes to Goodwills and thrift store like that, but we are only getting the third and the fourth. So when we get the third and the fourth material, the one thing that makes us different from any other company is that how we have that sorting technology that separates synthetic and natural fiber, because till now they have to do it manually, and you know how if organizing clothes manually will take a lot of time. So that's why when we introduce this technology, we thought about how we can like do this fast and efficient. So when we take the materials, we goes to the company, it sorts automatically with the infrared, and this was motivated by Ford Textile, a European technology that has been already introduced, and they separated to natural fiber and synthetic fiber, and then we can get both, while other company have been still using manual, and they will only take out synthetic material, and the natural material are the byproducts which are going back to the landfills. I hope that answered your question. Please let me know if you have more questions.
And just to add to that as well, Kamana, thank you for explaining like the technical aspects of it. There is a large problem in I mean, particularly just speaking of America, of once clothes have been wasted, like finished, they'll usually drop it off at the Salvation Army. It stays there for, I believe it's roughly a month, and then traders will ship it abroad. It usually ends up in developing countries. So rather than letting it go abroad to where it'll just end up in a landfill, it'll end up burnt, which you'll see a lot in, I'm originally from East Africa, you'll see a lot of that in the region. And it actually economically harms, because you're taking away opportunity from kind of local clothing manufacturers by sending the old clothes. We would try and stop that, which taking those materials, and instead of letting it be shipped to Africa for a cheaper price, we'll take it for that lower price and use those clothes as our material. So it also prevents the CO2 from the actual shipment of the materials constantly happening. So I hope that also adds to the answer as well for you.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. That answers it.
All right, judges. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just had one comment and also suggestion. I see that this was really thought out, so I'm just like, once again, very impressed. I did want to suggest, in terms of your market, something that you guys can think about maybe in the future. I know that you guys were targeting ASOS, Fashion Nova, Shein, very fast fashion brands as a way for them to become more sustainable. Something else you guys can think about is targeting brands that are already sustainable, like Everlane, Madewell. They actually take a lot of donations from their customers and they get percentage off, and maybe making their processes more efficient because they're already in the sustainable space too. That could be something in the long term or in the future. There's something to think about. That once again, really great idea.
Thank you so much for that suggestion.
All right, so if y'all can start judging on the Judge Fest app, and once y'all are done, we can take a 5-minute break and come back for the final 2 teams. And team 9, you can join back into your breakout room and talk with the team if you want. And yeah, y'all did good. Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all for taking the time to even be here and volunteering. So I really appreciate you all.